Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, and welcome back to our read-through of Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shay Earnshaw, the published Jack x Sally fanfiction that is more of a self-insert story than I thought at first. We continue our foray where Sally seems to have met the Sandman, or at least seen the Sandman at work, and we shall see how she reacts to this information. Chapter 7. The garden is sunk into a shadowless dark, a full, unending kind of dark that seeps into every corner of the fence line, every leaf and stem and bleeding thorn. I waited until I saw the gray-bearded man drift out towards the cemetery at the farthest edge of town, before slipping from the house and running along the stone wall to the garden behind Dr. Finkelstein's observatory, keeping out of sight. Now my leaves churn in my chest as I gather the herbs, knowing I will need to be quick. I feel like that could have been one sentence. I fill a metal pail with ginseng, sage, and bacopa. I pull up a clump of morning root and coffee basil, and when my pail is full, I slink along the outer wall of the garden. In the distance, I can still hear the creature, though I can't see him. The town is so quiet, so motionless, that even his faint muttering sounds echo back to me. He is humming. He's humming a tune, a lullaby, I think, soft and alluring, and I wonder if he senses that there is someone still awake in Halloween Town, someone he hasn't yet found, and is trying to coax me into the open. I hurry back up the stone path to the house, before his cajoling words can drift into my ears, into my thoughts, making me forget what I need to do, and close the door quietly behind me. I feel like that wasn't really established, but okay. In the dimly lit kitchen at the back of our house, where a single stove and a tiny lopsided icebox still sit pressed against one wall, I begin to brew the herbs into a pot of mud water. I listen for any sound of the bearded figure beyond the walls while I stir the boiling mixture, the kitchen filled with its potent, heady scent. When the herbs have been steeped of all their color, and the brew looks like chalky gray milk, I pour it into a porcelain mug and carry it up to our bedroom. Jack is just where I left him, motionless on the bed, and I lift his head into my palm, careful to slowly pour the warm brew into his mouth and down his throat, not wanting to spill a drop. When the mug is empty, I place my palms against his chest, waiting for him to stir awake, for his black bottomless eyes to flutter open and peer up at me. "Please," I whisper, so softly I know he won't be able to hear. Tears stream over my threaded eyelids and fall onto his cheeks. "Jack," my voice breaks, desperate, pleading. I need him to squeeze my hand, to wake up and wipe the tears from my face. I thought I wanted to be alone, but now I see the flaw in it, the gaping, awful wound. To be alone means to feel alone, to stand in a place that should be bustling with noise, and hear only the soft exhale of your own shallow breath. I was wrong. Well, that was quick. And I need Jack to wake up. The old grandfather clock in the hall ticks each second loudly in my ears. It's taking too long. The leaves in my chest fall silent. The lust needles in my stomach jab at my flesh. The potion I made should have been stronger enough to wake the crankiest of the dead from the oldest coffins. Jack should have stood up straight, eyes shot wide, when the first drop trickled down his throat. But after another minute passes, and the brewed herbs simply turn his pale cheekbones a dull, watery pink, I know it's not going to work. All the hope I had felt inside me feels as if it has spilled out onto the floor, now a puddle of pain. He's not going to wake. I released my hand from his chest and sinked back onto my knees, looking to the window, the cool night breeze mussing the curtains, while dread slithers up and down my patchwork seams. If my potion doesn't wake Jack, if I can't undo whatever that creature has done to him and the others, then I am truly, terrifyingly all alone. Outside the house, the humming begins to grow louder, a drowsy tune, childlike, like a melody sung to babies before sleep, but this song is not like the ones we sing in Halloween Town about howling ghosts and creepy creeps who will lurk under beds and claw out your eyes while you sleep. I mean, I don't think they say that specifically, but okay. The song this monster sings is one of soft summer clouds and white cotton sheep who graze in cornflower meadows and rest under pink starry skies. I slink to the bedroom window, my small shoes hardly making a sound on the floorboards, and peer outside. The lullaby echoes over the black stone rooftops, drawing closer like a phantom beneath the pale moonlight. The lump in my throat tightens, and I start to turn back to Jack when something slips past the window outside. A soot-dark shadow, awful and fleeting and much too close. Stumbling over my own feet, I scramble behind the curtain, hands pressed to the wall beside me, but I wasn't fast enough. I can see the silhouette of the bearded figure through the curtain, hovering just outside the window. Sand spills from his robe pockets, making a soft tick-tick-tick sound on the stone path below. I guess it's more like a tick-tick-tick-tick. And for the first time, his humming melody reshapes into words, peering through the dark. The night is warm and The night is warm and drowsy, and you must be tired, he croons. Step into the open, and I will give you what you desire. I sink down to the floor and cover my ears with my palms. I don't want to hear these words. I don't want to slip into a deep, deathly sleep like Jack and the others. Zero is cowering behind the closet door, and I want to run to him, but I'm afraid of being seen. I am not the thing you fear, he whispers now. I am the giver of dreams, of riddles and lullabies and moonbeams. I swallow down the terror climbing up my throat while a storm of leaves whipping around inside my chest. Oh my God, I did not read that correctly at all. I swallowed down the terror climbing up my throat like a storm of leaves whipping around inside my chest. I can't stay here by the open window, but before I can stand up and run for the doorway, a great gust of wind tears into the bedroom, and with it comes a cloud of white flecks like spun sugar, sand. It rains across the bedroom floor. It falls against my hair, settles into the cracks in the floorboards, and in my throat. I cough despite myself, and the creature quickly ceases its humming. Now he knows for sure. There's someone inside the room. He's found me. I have to run. Now! I push myself up, shoes slipping on the fine layer of sand. I almost fall, but scramble to the closet and yank open the door. Inside, Zero is shaking, terrified. We have to go! I hiss at him. His pumpkin nose has dimmed, but he slips free of the closet, and we duck out into the hall, racing down the stairs towards the front door. I grip the doorknob and yank it open, about to dart into the twilight, but the creature's shadow slips by overhead. He's circling the house, waiting for us. The leaves in my chest claw up my throat, beating behind my teeth, making everything vibrate with fear. I wonder if she means literally or figuratively. I try to slam the door closed, but there is another gust of wind, and the door swings wide, crashing against the wall with a loud crack, throwing me and Zero back into the hallway. In an instant, the creature is in the doorway, staring down at me. We peer at each other, eye to eye. Sleep, sweet child. Your dreams are close. Your pillows are as soft as a downy rose. His words are slow and plying, as gentle as fingertips across silk. I pause, legs frozen beneath me, as the creature slips across the threshold only a few feet away, humming under his breath. His eyes are settled on mine, but they seem subdued, doughy and soft, less sinister somehow. Just an old gray-haired man singing songs to calm rattled minds. I could rest a while, I think. Sink onto the floor of the hallway and listen to the ease and lull of each of his languid words. Let my bustling mind slow and sleep for only a moment or two. But Zero nudges my palm and growls. I blink, snapping my gaze away. The creature is inside the house, and I've stalled in the hallway like a doll who's lost all her stuffing. I swallow, shaking away this feeling of his words in my ears, the buttery calm humming through every stitch and seam. And I turn, Zero at my heels, then sprint down the hall, our only option. At the far end of the hallway, I slip into Jack's library. A single window, narrow and barely opened, sits in the back corner, framed by bookshelves. I don't have a choice. Zero watches anxiously as I shimmy the window open in its frame, then squeeze myself through the opening. I can hear the creature moving down the hall, hissing his lurid lullaby, trying to beckon me forth. Yet he doesn't move quickly, with no great hurry. He knows that sooner or later his victims can no longer resist his words, and they sink into a listless, muddled haze. He reaches the doorway to Jack's library and makes a dissatisfied sound, like teeth mashing together, impatient and irritated, when he sees me half perched in the window. The drop is far, several stories from atop Skull Hill, where our house is perched high above the ground, but I snuck out of countless windows when I lived in Dr. Finkelstein's lab. So I suck in a breath, then launch myself out the open window, sailing through the night air until I hit the ground far below with an abrupt smack. The fall would kill most people, crack apart delicate porous bones. Luckily, I have no bones to break. Then why did she talk about a rib cage before? Zero flutters through the open window, his ghostly body drifting down to me, then noses me on the cheek. "I'm okay," I whisper. My left leg is twisted backward at the knee, but there's no time to mend it, so I scramble upward, balancing on one good leg. Above me, the creature hasn't reached the window quite yet, but we need to run before he sees us, before he knows which way we've gone. Limping, I stagger away from the house into the shadows of the alleyway. Zero beside me, and I can still hear the creature banging through the halls, pushing open doors, searching. I circle around the back of the house, leg hitching awkwardly, and hurry up the path through the cemetery, across the bridge, and into the woods, into the dusky cover of darkness. But we're only a few paces into the trees when Zero nips at my elbow, tugging at my fabric. Out of breath, I stop and spin around to look at him. His ghost dog his ghost dog fur, a stark white against the dark of the forest, and he whimpers at me. "What's wrong?" I whisper. He releases my elbow and turns his watery gaze back to the way we came, toward town and our house in the distance. His big dog ears sag, nose dimmed, and then I understand. He doesn't want to leave Jack. "We can't go back there," I tell him. That thing will put us both to sleep, and there will be no one left awake." I think about the sand that blew in through the window, how it's already settled in my hair, my throat. It might only be a matter of time until I slip into an unwaking slumber, unless I brushed it from my skin in time, shed it clean. Or perhaps it was only a small dusting, not nearly enough to put me to sleep. Either way, I'm not going to stay and find out. I'm not going to risk it happening again. Zero makes another sad, desperate sound, his eyes cast up the path through the cemetery to where Jack lies asleep on the second floor of our home. I run my hand along Zero's neck, stroking his ghostly fur. "I understand," I say quietly. He wants to stay with Jack. He won't leave him behind alone, no matter what. He nudges his head into my cheek, and I lower my hand. "I'll come back," I assure him, although I don't know how. I just know I need to get away from Halloween Town before that creature finds me again. I need to get somewhere safe. Zero lifts his ears, makes a small whining sound, then flits away, back towards the edge of the trees. But before he passes over the bridge, he pauses to look back at me, and I nod, holding down the anxious lump in my throat, the urge to call out to him, not wanting to leave him behind. But he disappears through the shadowy cemetery, out of sight. Okay, that was a little confusingly worded to me. He is loyal to Jack, even now, and although there is an edge of fear inside me, leaving him like this, I also know that he'll be able to stay hidden from the creature, quiet and ghostly. He'll keep to the shadows at the back of the closet. And some part of me is grateful that he's staying behind with Jack. I wish I could, too. But I can hear the creature's lullaby echoing through the streets of town, sailing on the wind, still searching for me. I need to get away from here. I turn away from Zero and Jack and all of Halloween Town, and I hobble deeper into the shadowy woods, as fast as my twisted leg will carry me, until the town is lost behind me, until there's only the dark, eerie quiet of the trees and the fluttering of my dead leaves. Chapter 8. The woods are oddly still. No wind, no morning owls crying from the treetops. The moon cuts long ways through the spiny forest, and I follow the path until I reach the familiar grove of trees. Not knowing where else to go, where to hide, I sink down onto the dry ground in a stretch of shadows. My knee has suffered 2 torn stitches in the fall, and I brace my leg with both hands, then yank it back around, so my foot is facing forward, before I quickly stitch the seam back together, while my eyes dart up the path, watching for the creature, listening for his unnaturally soothing song echoing through the forest. Using my teeth, I snap the end of the thread, then scramble to my feet, testing out the leg. It was a hasty mending, but it'll have to do. I survey the grove of trees, everything just as the night before, but I move past it, deeper into the woods, remembering the way to the wall of briars that concealed the newly discovered tree, the unknown tree. Perhaps it will be a safe place to hide, away from the worn path that cuts through the forest. But when I reach the lone tree, the air escapes my throat. The moon-carved doorway into the tree is wide open. The dark hole like a child's yawning mouth. I never closed the door. I left it open. The cold realization slams into my stomach. When I found the door, I'd been distracted, trying to retrieve my torn arm from Zero's mouth as he fled the woods, racing after him back to the cemetery. My mind tumbles against another thought, not wanting it to be true. Maybe it's a coincidence. The open door and the bearded man creature. Man creature. The man creature. You stupid man thing. Who has put everyone in Halloween Town to sleep. I want to believe these two things aren't connected, that it isn't my fault, but the twisting in my knotted stomach, the base of my throat, tells me that it is. I have let something out into our town. I did this. I step forward quickly and slam the little door, afraid of what else might be waiting on the other side. I gather dead branches and broken limbs from the forest floor, securing them across the doorway and making a hasty barricade, a way to keep out any other monsters that might slither or creep or crawl through. But he's already out. I feel like the smarter thing would go in to see if you can get him to come back in rather than to shut his only way back in. The woods feel too quiet, the darkness heavy. Guilt crashes through me like a guillotine cutting down to bone. There is no one else to blame. No one to unleash my anger upon for being so foolish and stupid. I mean, Zero kind of helped, but anyway. I have left the door open into some unknown world and unleashed a creature into Halloween Town. I pick at the thread on my wrist as another thought begins to fester in my mind. The aloneness rotting in my chest taking on a new meaning, clear and undeniable. There is no one else to undo what's been done. No one left but me. With Halloween less than 2 weeks away, it's not only the residents of Halloween Town whom I have doomed, but all of Halloween. If I don't find a way to wake the others, there will be no pumpkins burning bright on doorsteps, no ghosts rattling chains from children's bedroom closets, no tricks unleashed on All Hallows' Eve night. Not this year, not ever. This is all my fault. See, that's not something you hear a lot, is usually the threat is Christmas being canceled, but this is the threat of Halloween being canceled. Oh, can't have that. Never. With my head pulsing, my knees still a little off-center, I walk the several yards back to the original grove of 7 trees. I stand in the middle, turning in a circle. I know I can't stay here. I can't risk the creature finding me, putting me to sleep. I narrowly escaped him once before. I might not be so lucky again. And maybe, there will be someone in the other holidays who will know how to stop the bearded man with sand shifting it from his pockets. Again, I feel like that could have been one sentence. I think back to Valentine's Down, our honeymoon, only days ago, and I wonder if Ruby Valentino will know how to send him back to where he came from. Surely she will have some queenly trick or simple remedy to set things right. I opened the red heart doorway that leads to Valentine's Town, my fingers trembling. I remember the hesitation I felt only days ago. I didn't want to leave Halloween Town. I was afraid to venture into a world I didn't know. But when Jack folded his cold fingers through mine, I knew I couldn't go anywhere without him. I knew I'd go anywhere with him. Now I have to do this on my own. I suck in a long, shaky breath, fear and courage stewing together inside me, making me feel lightheaded, but I force myself to extend my crooked leg through the doorway and then my arms, before tumbling headfirst into Valentine's Town. I almost feel like going to Christmas Town and asking Santa might make more sense, but whatever. There is nothing graceful about the descent into a new realm. It's pinwheeling ribbons of starlight and little paper-white hearts. But when I land in Valentine's Town, I don't take the time to admire the heart-shaped trees and the spun sugar sky. I start immediately towards the town's borders. But I sense the strangeness in the air as soon as I step through the iron-forged gate and hurry down the cobblestone streets. The center of town, at the Cupid's Fountain, is unnaturally quiet. Uh-oh. The scent of melted chocolate and candy wax dripping from fingertips is all gone. The air smells flat, sugarless, like watered-down cake batter left to spoil on the kitchen counter. Okay. I start towards the Lovebird Inn, but I don't even make it when a block before I see the first plump, rosy-cheeked woman asleep in a doorway, head canted to one side, a dozen tiny heart-shaped candies strewn on the ground by her hand. The words, "My honeybee" and "Little Love" are stamped into the chalky hearts. "Ma'am?" I say to the woman, but I already know. I sense she won't wake. Just like the residents of Halloween Town, she too has been cast into an odd, otherworldly kind of slumber. Farther up the street, I find others, passed out at cafe tables, hot chocolate left cold beside their limp fingers, heads slumped against shoulders, eyes sunk closed, babies dozing in their strollers while their parents lie on the cobblestone sidewalk, also fast asleep. I find a cluster of cupids resting near the lazy chocolate river, still muttering sounds slipping from their cherry lips. They look like tiny confections, babies who have eaten too many sweets, wings gone still against their backs, and every last one of them is covered in a soft dusting of white sand. Oh no. It's scattered across the streets, stuck in window frames and doorways and beneath fingernails. Wait, what? Okay. It's everywhere. I pass delicatessens where candied gingers, marzipan almonds, and lemon macarons have been left in windowsills to rot in the morning sunlight. At last I discover Ruby Valentino, asleep in the front garden of oh my God, what must be her home, hedged roses and petunias blooming all around her. It's a well-tended garden, not a single bleeding heart flower in sight, and behind it stands a frosted pink house, tall and narrow like a high-heeled shoe. Now I'm thinking it's just shaped like a shoe for no reason. She still looks like as glossy and queenly as she did awake, but now her lips sputter with each exhale, and I bend down to touch her hand softly where she's lying in flattened grass. Half-eaten chocolate truffle with butterscotch swirls a few inches from her lifeless fingertips. "Ruby?" I whisper, hoping against all reason that she might wink a sleepy eye up at me and magically stir awake. I place my other hand on her shoulder and rock her gently, saying her name louder several more times, my tone growing more frantic, afraid. My voice echoes across Valentine's Town, up the empty streets, with no other sounds to break it apart, and the echo sends a spike of cold down to my tailbone. don't have one. Ugh. Ruby's mouth hangs open, and I lower her back down to the grass, letting her sleep. Valentine's Town is lost in a deep slumber, and I'm starting to wonder if I'm the last one still awake anywhere. Oh no. This is just like a Powerpuff Girls episode. Alright, that'll do that for this evening. I hope you enjoyed our continued trip down this interesting rabbit hole, and hope you can join us tomorrow for the next 2 chapters. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps the channel. Gotta fight that lifeless algorithm. And I'll see you all I'll be here next time. Ciao, Bellas.